Welcome back to Scottish Movies, and it's time for another episode of Van Damme versus Seagal. Who's going to win this week? Okay, so this week I've been watching a couple more Van Damme and Seagal movies. I've been watching On Deadly Ground with Steven Seagal, and I've been watching Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now this is actually a change to what I was originally going to do. I actually watched On Deadly Ground, which was actually directed by Steven Seagal, and I had planned to watch one of the few movies directed by Jean-Claude Van Damme as well, which was The Quest, which I do own, but I seem to have misplaced the DVD. I don't know what's happened to it. I couldn't find it anywhere. So we've got to have a substitute with a Cyborg. But yeah, I'm going to talk about them now anyway. So first up, I'm going to talk about Cyborg. Yeah, I picked this up in CX not too long back for about £3 or £4, I think, because I didn't have it in my collection. So yeah, Van Damme plays a character called Gibson, who's like a hired fighter, living in a sort of plague-filled apocalyptic future. And he meets a cyborg by the name of Pearl, who's sort of carrying information for the cure to this plague. He's trying to get it to like the scientists in Atlanta. And she sort of hires Van Damme to sort of escort her there. Along the way, she's kidnapped by the bad guy by the name of Fender. He's like a muscle-bound sort of pirates leader. And he's kind of Van Damme's arch enemy kind of thing. And yeah, and that's generally the basic plot of it. So was it any good? Well, this is pretty much like low budget sci-fi, really. I remember this film, seeing it in the video shops back in the 80s, but I never watched it. I never hired it out. It was one of these. I don't think I was even aware of really who Van Damme was at the time. It was probably one of his first movies. I've got a couple of mates that sort of religiously watched him early on, watching things like Bloodsport and Kickboxer and everything. But it sort of passed me by. But I do remember sort of seeing Cyborg in the video shop. As I say, never watched it. And it's got that sort of look of like the low budget sci-fi films of the mid to late 80s. But yeah, the dialogue in this movie isn't the greatest. Van Damme doesn't have a lot to say really. It's probably as well because he's obviously not a great actor. But wow, the villain, guy called Fender, all you hear all the time is just like and every time there's like a fight, they're just going I don't know what's going on. It's like they're on the set of Pirates of the Caribbean or something. But it was quite comical. But yeah, generally the fighting in it was pretty good. There's quite a lot of it as well, which was a pleasant surprise. Because a couple of the films I've seen of Van Damme's recently, there's not been tons of fighting in it, which obviously what you're there to see. But yeah, it's a strange film. I mean, Van Damme even gets crucified at one point, so it's a bit bizarre. But yeah, it was okay. It's not the greatest. I'll be honest, but it was okay in parts. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about it really. So yeah, that was Cyborg. On to Mr. Steven Seagal movie this week, and that is 1994's On Deadly Ground. Picked this up from CX as well. I think it was about £2.50 plus the postage. Didn't have this in the collection, so yeah, I just want to grab it. So yeah, Seagal plays a character by the name of Forrest Taft. That's strange. I don't know where they get these names from. He's like an environmental agent, and he works for a oil company in Alaska by the name of Aegis Oil, which is run by a corrupt CEO called Michael Jennings, who's played by Michael Caine, of all people. And basically, when he finds out what Jennings is up to, Forrest is like laughing dead. And he then gets rescued by some Eskimos. He goes on like a spiritual journey, and then ultimately he's out for revenge on Jennings and wants to bring down the oil company. Yeah, it's kind of I think this is known as like the environmental movie when it comes to Mr. Seagal. Was it any good? Yeah, it was okay. Again, the fighting was okay in it. This is actually, as I said earlier, believe the one and only movie directed by Steven Seagal. And oh wow, I think he should stick to his martial arts. Apparently, he won a Razzie for this directing role, so that sort of says it all, really. One of the best things about this movie for me is the villains. Michael Caine just made me laugh. At one point, made me laugh out loud. He's just a proper pantomime villain. He's really hamming it up, and there's actually a few people in there as his sort of henchmen and sort of fellow bad guys that are recognised. There's a very young Billy Bob Thornton in there. There's Mike Starr, who I know from Dumb and Dumber. I can't remember his name. The hitman in Dumb and Dumber. And there's John C. McGinley in there as well. But yeah, the villains were pretty good, like the bad guys. And what else? At the end of this movie, though, there's like a really sort of preachy environmental message by Mr. Steven Seagal. It probably lasts about 10 minutes. Now, I was reading into this. Apparently, he wanted this to be about half an hour, or an hour, or something like that. It was originally a really long film, and they obviously cut a load of it out because they're not going to have that at the end of the movie. But generally, overall, I kind of enjoyed this film. Michael Caine just swung it for me. I thought he was just brilliant. It's just funny. I don't know what kind of accent he was putting on, but he amused me. So which film is the better one though? Let's find out. Okay, so we've got a win for Mr. Steven Seagal this week with On Deadly Ground. Yeah, I'll be honest, neither of these films were all that. Not, they're not either one of them want to be sort of rushing back to rewatch, but Deadly Ground sort of tips it over the edge a little bit for me. I think Michael Caine just made it for me, and it just made me laugh, and it was entertaining. So yeah, I give this win for Steven Seagal. So that actually, if I'm not much mistaken, draws the series with 3 for Steven Seagal and 3 for Jean-Claude Van Damme. So we're currently at a draw, and that's where we're going to leave it for now. I'm going to wrap this series up for now. This is like episode 6. And I'm going to go have a break from these movies. I think I've enjoyed watching them, but I am going to be bringing this series back maybe later in the year, or maybe start next year, maybe, where we'll have some more classic Van Damme and classic Steven Seagal movies. After all, I've been picking a lot of them up in charity shops and CX and everything. So I've got plenty to go at, but I just want to take a break from them. But yeah, that is it for this episode and this season, so to speak, of Van Damme vs Seagal. So yeah, comment down below if you've seen either Cyborg or On Deadly Ground and what you thought of them. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.